You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marnie Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Sarah Walton. Unlocking abundance and confidence. Time management plus sales and money mindset shifts. Ladies, welcome. You're gonna love today. Why? Because we're gonna talk about money. Sarah Walton is here. She's a business coach and sales expert. She's been featured on the Today Show. She speaks at women's conferences all over the world. She's helped hundreds of women start and grow businesses they love. She works with a handful of one-on-one clients. She has a sales mastermind. She leads her exclusive Abundance Academy for women in business. She has an amazing podcast called Game on Girlfriend. She's the face of Sarah Uncut on YouTube. She is our source for no-nonsense business coaching and real-life mind-blowing abundance. And she grew up in a low-income household with a single mom. So she gets it. If you look on her website, I just love this one part where she goes, I don't own a private jet. I don't work 4 hours a week from the beach. I love that so much because that's so fucking annoying when we hear that stuff. At least I get triggered. I don't know. I could do some work to figure out why that annoys me, but I'll save that for later. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, Marnie, thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really looking forward to this conversation. And that was one of the best / funniest intros I think I've ever heard. I enjoyed every second of that.
Okay, good. So here's the thing. I'm just going to go right to the chase. So last night I had this like little mini workshop and I had some clients talk about limiting beliefs, and someone, you know, right out of the gate talked about lack and scarcity. And the interesting piece about this to me was that she knows that she lives in lack. She doesn't believe in herself or her dreams. She has a job, but she took the time to even get certified as a coach. Like, you know, she's taking some steps, right? But what she realized was that her parents both grew up in poverty. And at the same time, while she really wants to make a change, she's terrified and realizes also she's basically teaching her kids the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But still, she's like stuck. So I think this is a really common thing. So can you just sort of talk about, like, number one, is this lack and scarcity mentality, belief, felt sense, is it something we ever heal from? How do you know you have it, or are you just being frugal? I mean, what's the nuance here?
Well, okay, that just opened us up to about a 5-hour podcast episode. So
right?
Good. The question to ask for sure. You know, and something like that, like what she specifically was describing, and I love the specificity of this question. Like I realized my parents this sort of happened, and now I'm passing it on. And I call those the unspoken rules of childhood, right? So nobody sits down and says, you know, listen, Marnie, by the way, you're going to be broke forever. Money's impossible. Right. You're never going to figure it out. And you're an idiot. And you know, you need 18 financial planners. And by the way, they're going to screw you over, right? Like nobody says that to you, right? But boy, do we pick that up.
Yeah. And
so I love to talk to people about the unspoken rules in their childhood. And that is usually the second I say unspoken rules, people like they have like light bulb moments, right? They're like, oh my God, my mom hates money. Right? But she never said that. But you know, she freaking hates it, right? She doesn't keep track of it. She doesn't know where it is. It's annoying. It's stupid. Your dad does that. Like those kinds of phrases you'll hear from people growing up inside of that scarcity mindset, not even knowing what it was, again, because no one sat them down and directly said it. Now, that being said,
yes,
we come here naturally abundant. Meaning we're, you know, if you've had a baby, you look at this fresh little thing. I remember holding my son and I'm like, oh my God, he doesn't know he's a boy. He doesn't know what language he's supposed to speak. You know, he doesn't know he's American. Like all the things I was like, can I just keep him like this, please? Right.
Right.
That's not possible. Right. But Oh, and I think I even said he doesn't know what money is. I remember thinking that, like this beautiful clean slate. And that's every single one of us.
Yeah.
Come in that way. And then we start to get written on, right, by other people's fears, other people's experiences, other people's shame, guilt, embarrassment. All these things get written on us. And there's a really great book. So I would say totally give this to your client from the workshop last night, 100%. And I actually have a podcast episode out this week, funny enough, about my 5 favorite books. And this is one of them.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And also link to her podcast in the show.
Oh, you're so
just say it.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. So what is it? I'm like, did I read it? Do I need to read it?
It's called The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. Now, hang on to your hats and glasses.
I've heard of her. Yep.
Yeah. Because she just kind of resurfaced. But this book was actually written, oh gosh, I hope I get the dates. It was like late 80s, early 90s. This is not a go get the latest kind of book. That's not what this is. And all of the principles she discusses in the book still hold. And the main thing that comes from that book, back to your question of, do we ever heal this? Like whatever happens, like, oh my God. The concept is that Lynn Twist came up with, that I think is so brilliant, is there are 3 conversations we are just born into. And those conversations are, there's not enough.
Right.
Right? More is better. Absolutely untrue. And then the kicker is the third one, because it keeps everything locked in the way it is. And the third one is, well, it's just the way it is. So we don't move to change it, right? Well, people are just shady with money. Well, only men make money. Well, if you're going to go into politics, there's someone's buying you, right? There's all those things. And that's just the way it is. So we can't change it. So shut up and be scared that there's not enough. And by the way, more is better. So it's like, what? And again, nobody sits you down and says this, but if there's not enough, you start acting a little crazy and you start trying to get enough, right? And you start to, then maybe you cheat, or like you lie once in a while, or, there's not enough. So I don't know, I'm not going to pay the phone bill. I'm going to go get a new purse, right? Or whatever starts to happen that has us act out of integrity. It's because we're functioning. It's just been written all over our faces, is this function of there's not enough. And then we're totally screwed, because then there's another belief that says, by the way, more is better. So you're already functioning with, you don't have enough. And then the world is coming in going, yeah, but how big is your house? And how many cars do you have?
Right.
And how old are your jeans? Did you get your haircut recently? Have you done the latest do? Like whatever, pick a thing.
Yeah.
And we know that's not true, right? Ask most people who end up getting bigger houses. Someone's got to clean that sucker. And they're like, why did I think this was a good idea? You know what I mean? It's like, we don't think about it. We just assume. Yeah.
Not to mention, and I know this is obvious, but I think it's important to remember, because I think we forget, like, look at like so many very wealthy celebrities or public figures that have unlimited amounts of money that share their lack of happiness or fulfillment, right? I was talking to someone the other day about a woman business owner who's, I'm not going to say her name, but she's famous. She sold her company. I think now she's like got like 35, 40 million, billion. I don't know. It's a shit ton of money, right?
Lots of dollars.
Right. And so I have a colleague of mine who's now working for this person, and she's got some kids, like maybe in middle school, elementary school, husband, whatever. And I was like, why the hell is this woman still working so hard? Like literally, right? Like, because she's like, I don't think she's very happy. She's kind of like a not great person to work with, be around. This is, not very happy. So because what I see is that no matter how much you have, if that's how you're going to operate under, like, I never have enough and there's more is better, then you're like fucked for life, because the goalpost just keeps getting moved further and further.
You can't.
So
win.
what do you like? I mean, and then everyone's going to say, well, Sarah, like, but that's true. More is better and there's never enough. So what do you say to those people?
Oh, yeah, it's really tough. It is, because that wiring has been put in place. Like, there we come in the clean slates, right? And then that wiring gets put in real fast. You start taking the kids' toys at the playground, right? Like, it's fast. And so the idea is actually to deal with the truth, right? So I'll say things like, so there's not enough. Really? Have you ever looked at a garbage can in an amusement park? You know how much food is in there? There's enough. We just don't look at it that way. right? And I'll be really straight about that. And this is my line. This is why I want to put more money in the hands of more women. That's my tagline, is because I love men. I think they've had their turn, right? And I think if we had enough women, right, with more money, we wouldn't be dropping bombs on other people's children. We'd be dropping food, water, and medicine. Why? Because we have enough of it. And if we can get a bomb within inches of where we want it, why is there not food within inches of where they need it? There's a fallacy running. There's not enough. There's plenty. We're just not looking at it that way. So it's really starting to like question what's happening. And the other thing I'll say to people when there's not enough is I'll literally say, how many different varieties of apples are available in your grocery store?
Right.
How many? I mean, people are like, I go in there, I'm like, I'm overwhelmed, right? And let's just run through that real quick. Someone planted those trees, watered them, took care of them, weeded them, picked them, packaged them, trucked them, unpackaged them, put them in the grocery store for me. And I'm like, oh, there's no pink ladies, right? There's enough. There's enough. And so it's starting to flip the perspective from what's not available to what is. And one of the ways I have people do this is it's a really simple exercise, and it's free and always available, which makes me very happy. It is 3 steps. So number 1 is wiggle your toes in your shoes.
This
is a great thing to do anytime you're scared or nervous, like if you're presenting or you're on a sales call or something, whatever, you have to like break up with your husband, pick a thing, right? And you're like, wiggle your toes in your shoes. Nobody knows you're doing it. And it pulls you right back down to planet Earth, because you'll start to, and it just pulls you down. And then the next thing I like to do when there's this idea, there's just not enough and like more is better and I'm never going to be satisfied. And the more is better is so insidious, because even if you have $100 million in the bank, $101 million is better. Right. So it's like you're just screwed for life, right?
Yeah.
So one of the ways we work on that is on a sunny day, I tell people to look outside and see absolutely everywhere that the sun is touching with 0 effort, and look at where the sunlight is hitting. And all of a sudden your attention starts to go to the fact that there's enough and you don't need any more. So more isn't necessarily better. What about what we have is awesome? And you just start to, it's amazing. And this is, again, free, and you can do it at any time. And then the other one I love, this one really helps because it starts to just sort of have you see things you haven't seen before. And that to me is what true abundance is you see opportunities and openings where other people don't see them, is that you look at the space around the objects in your vision.
Yeah.
So for example, if you're driving, be careful, right? And you're listening, like look up at all of the space around you. Look at the space around the trees. Look at the space around the road. Look at the space on the outside of the car. Look at the space inside the car. So if you could see me right now, right? There is like the painting behind me and my curtains and my windows, but like what's the space in between that around my head? And you start looking for space instead of objects. And all of a sudden there is so much space. And no one else is looking there. And all of a sudden, the abundance is everywhere you look. And what happens is in that moment of like, whatever the scarcity is, like, oh shit, I can't pay my electric bill, or, oh my God, I just lost a client, or I'm getting divorced, I'm going to be broke for life. Like pick a thing, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden you wiggle your toes, you look at the sunshine, you start to look for space. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm going to call that guy Joe from accounting for my very first job. I haven't talked to him listen to that, follow that, because that's an opening that wasn't there before. And for all you know, Joe knows somebody who needs to hire exactly what you do. And that was why he popped into your head. I don't know how it works. I wish I did. I know it sounds
right. It just does.
It works every time. Every time. Every time something new pops up, like, oh, I was supposed to do that work for my neighbor, or, oh my God, that's right, I was supposed to call so-and-so back. And all of a sudden you've got a new contract, or you've got a new job, or you've got more money in the bank than you thought. Because you're looking for the space, you're not looking for the problem. And it sounds, you don't bury your head in the sand. And of course, the obligations we have are the obligations we have. We never shirk from those. But the openings for how to accomplish what you need to accomplish are there if you're looking. And initially when people are like, that's BS, Sarah Walton, you lie. I'm like, okay, all right, let's play a game. Let's play a game. Right. And this one's my favorite to play, which is, let's say you're in the market for a new car.
Yeah.
Right. I love this one. And you're like, I want a white Toyota. And, you go outside, you're going to the grocery store, you're going wherever you're going. And all of a sudden there's freaking 45 million white Toyotas everywhere.
100%.
What happened?
Yeah.
Right. And it's not like the dealer was like, dudes, she's on the hunt, send them out. That's not what happens,
Launch
right?
the Toyotas. Yeah.
That's right. You're looking for them so they show up. And by the way, it works the other way. This is my favorite. I do this with my kids all the time, but like, say it's like dinner time, right? And someone's like, oh, we're out of salt. It's like, okay, good. Could you go grab the salt? It's in the cupboard to the left of the stove. And they're like, I can't see it. It's not here. Yes, it is. It's in the cupboard. No, it's not here. Well, you've now said, no, it's not here. And you're not going to be a liar. And what your brain does is actually makes it impossible for you to see it. We've all had this experience.
Yeah, of course.
And then the mom comes in and grabs it and it was right in front of your face.
It was right there.
Right. You literally could not see it because you cannot make yourself a liar. So if you're walking around saying, I can't see a future for me running my own business. I can't see a future for me where I have $1 million in the bank and I know how much I need that to grow in order for me to retire. I can't do that. You say, well, yeah. Like if you talk to yourself that way, you're seeing the objects, you're not seeing the space, and your mind will shut down where there's opportunity for you to see the salt. You won't see it. And that's why these small, tiny, free, always accessible exercises are so important, because you start to freak your brain out a little bit and it literally will start to see things it could not see before. But it won't be possible if you tell yourself it's not. That is absolutely true. You will make it so.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important thing to understand. Like if you're committed to the belief that you can't because you're just afraid, right? I think that's a big thing too, right? Like so many women that I talk to like have a dream to start a business, whether it's like, oh, you know, what I really want to do is open a bakery, or what I really want to do is be a coach, or what I really want to do is, you know, can do some consulting and travel more, whatever it is. And I think that they're afraid of actually having to step up and show up in the dream. So it's so much easier to just get on the there's not enough bandwagon. Then you have two problems, right? You're not believing in yourself and you don't believe there's enough. And so the great thing is that both those things are within your control.
That's right. And that is the good news, right? But it's also, I think, having the compassion to understand what's been familiar.
Yes.
Right. And this is also where that was such a great example, Marnie, of someone who's like, they can't get started on the dream. And sometimes it is they can't see it, right? The salt's not there, mom. It's not there, right? That feeling. And then other times they're breaking an unspoken rule. And the unspoken family rule could be women don't make money. The unspoken family rule could be it's immoral to make more money than your father. There's so many of those. And so it's worth doing the exercises, start getting your brain thinking another way. And then if you find yourself inexplicably not able to start, you're like, what in the hell is going on here? Chances are it's an unspoken rule. And really digging in to find those this is why we coaches, right? We all spend so much time on beliefs because they will win. Like, period. They don't care. They don't know if it's good or bad. They'll just win.
I love that you said that, Sarah. Literally, like, and I've said to people, like, are you more, I say it less nice, but are you more committed to your bullshit or are you more committed to your vision, right? Because if you're committed to your limiting beliefs, like the world is against you and you can't, like, good on ya. You just stay in your little sandbox with your little lack friends and talk about what's shit in the world and, bless your soul, really. Right. Yeah. But I think that that's a really interesting, important thing that people need to think about. Like, not only do you have unspoken rules, but are you arguing for your limitations? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And most of the time we are. This is why an unexamined psyche is so dangerous, right? Because we're just fighting for what's comfortable. Right? It's like we are all comfortable with there's not enough and more is better. I mean, watch social media. We're super comfortable with that conversation, right? Like we're all about it. Like, oh my God, she's so pretty. I'm such an asshole, right? We live there. And so working through the emotions, beliefs, hidden triggers that are knocking you around. I mean, that's just where the gold is. Right. I mean, I say that all the time. As business success is 20% strategy, because you can get those anywhere, by the way. You can't throw a cat without seeing a business strategy online, right?
Right.
That's only 20%. I mean, it really is. The other 80% is your mind. And dealing with what's happening as you progress. And by the way, it changes. You move one thing out of the way And then it's like, oh, flip. When I was 8, Uncle Joe told me at Thanksgiving that anyone who owns a business is a crook. God, now I got to deal with that. Right.
Right.
Just, but it doesn't stop. And there's new levels that we all break through. And in examining what's happening, especially if you're smart, you're highly productive, right? You are ambitious. You want to make a difference. You want to help people. You want to do something on this planet and you are not doing it. Oh my God. It's like, dude, there's just something else running the show you're not aware of. And if we can get to it, you'll start. It's unbelievable. I love watching people pop. They're like, oh my God, Uncle Joe did tell him, well, he's an idiot. And he never ran, right? And all of a sudden,
and here's Uncle Joe
anyway. The next day. Yeah. It's like, oh, but you have to know what they are. And I think that's why I fight so hard for coaching, because it's the unexamined psyche will rule your life. It just will.
Oh, I love that so much. Okay, so let's talk about the confusion between or around time and money, because I'm guessing that not only do we not have enough time and more is better, not enough money and more is better, then we also say, I don't have enough time and more is better. Are those parallel?
We actually have them confused. This is one of my big tenets. Like, this is like where Sarah Walton has, like, I'm like putting this stake in the ground. I'm not moving it kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And that is that money is infinite and time is finite. And we have them confused. We act like money, there's only this much money. Oh my God. Right. And we freak out, but like, oh, I'll get to that tomorrow. It's fine. Well, no. That's actually completely the opposite. You can always make more money, and I'll prove that in just a second. But you can always make more money. You cannot make more time. It is the only thing that you can use wisely or completely squander, and we all have the exact same amount.
Yes.
Right? Maybe not in our whole lifetimes.
Right.
We all have different there, but on the daily, we all have the same amount. And so if you're looking at someone else going, oh, it must be so easy for them, they have the same you have. Now, they might have a different setup, right? And I always love to joke around when male coaches are like, well, just get up early and do this and do that, and then work on your book for 4 hours after your day job. I'm like, you have a wife, right? So it's like there are different setups for time, right? Totally got that.
Yeah.
But what we spend that time on and how we use it is the most valuable thing that we can do, right? Is to be super aware of that while knowing money's infinite. So one of the things I love to tell people, and of course I have a formula because I'm a coach, but there's a way to actually calculate what an hour of your time is worth based on how much you want to make.
Love it.
Right? And so you can really actually calculate that and figure it out. So all of a sudden, if your time to make what you want to make is worth $175 an hour, and you could pay somebody $30 an hour to do something, that becomes a no-brainer. And that is work in the home, right? Unless you love, like, I love cleaning. I never outsource. I love it. I'm crazy. I love it so much, right? Never going to outsource it because it makes me so happy.
Right.
Laundry, don't give a rat's behind. Someone else can handle that, right? Like, I taught my kids how to do their laundry when they were 5. They still tell all their friends. They're like, my mom's nuts. I'm not doing it. I'm not spending my time doing that when you're perfectly capable hands doing it yourself. That's bananas. Plus now they know how to be functioning adults. Yay. Anyway, so we want to look at time and understand what it's actually worth. All right. So that to me is such a big deal, and really calculating that out and understanding, well, if there's 52 weeks in the year and I need to make this much money every week to hit my goal, you guys, I'm giving you the formula, right? So it's 52 weeks working 8 hours a day. You can calculate the amount of hours you want to work and what they're worth. It's really like 4th grade math. Now you have that to deal with your time, and that just helps you make better decisions about where you actually want to be spending it and where you don't. And that's okay. And no one can make that decision but you. Then when we get to the fact that money is infinite. Okay, so in the time that we've been talking, billions of dollars have exchanged hands on this planet.
Right,
they didn't disappear.
yes.
They haven't gone anywhere. They're just in circulation, moving all around. They haven't gone. Like, it's all there. It's all infinite. It's here. It's all here, right? It's whether or not we're participating in the flow of it. And so if you look around your environment right now, so for me, I can see my computer, my camera, my lights, the painting, but right, my sweater, right? Everything that I'm wearing, 'cause it's freezing, right? All of the things, somebody said to themselves, I'm going to make a thing and I'm going to sell it. And I bought it and I gave them money for their thing. Look around you, your shoes, your socks, your underwear, your jeans, your couch, your blanket, you paid for those. And somebody invented them out of thin air.
Yep.
That's how we know money's infinite. And if you're really feeling down one day, go to a Starbucks, sit there and watch the amount of money that's just flying all over the planet, and picturing you're in one Starbucks and they are global. And you think about how much money's constantly flowing. It's like, do you want to jump into that flow and understand that it's infinite? Or do you want to fight that flow and pretend there's not enough of it? And so that mindset flip, and I'm not saying, where's your money? Go get it. I don't love that. That's a very patriarchal attitude, not my favorite, right? But the idea that it's always there and it's always circulating. And when we think about what we need to create or what we need to do or the value we need to offer, if we're working a day job or whatever it is, when there's value, money will flow to it. It does not matter what the value is, actually. It's what the perceived value is.
Right.
We're paying $9 for coffee, right?
100%. Yes.
Right? I mean, that coffee costs to make maybe 25, 32 cents, right? Including the green straw. They're paying $9. Why? Because of the value, the smell, the scent, the stupid green straw, the little cup, the way it feels.
The convenience.
That's experience. Yes. So the perceived value is so high, right? This sweater I'm wearing today was my stepmother's. She passed away in 2018 and she loved to go to vintage thrift shops, right? In Beverly Hills and get like really nice stuff for $3. It was her thing. You couldn't pay me. You could come over here and say, Sarah, I'm going to pay you $40,000 for that sweater. And I'd be like, no. Why? Because my perceived value of this sweater is too high. You can't pay me for it. And when we start to understand that money will flow to where the perceived value is highest, you start to show up differently. You do show up on time. You do show up with integrity. You show up with love and compassion for other people. And you're so clear on what you want to do while you're here. Money starts coming in. Now, it's not magical. You have to have that 20% strategy. Right. You've got to go to your boss if you're working for someone else and come up with why your value is so high. Right. And in a loving, compassionate, inclusive way of like, listen, I love what I do. This is what I've done. And these are the different things I've been able to do. That's worth a lot to this company. And I'd love to get a 20% raise. But you have to work on the value and what the perceived value actually is. And you can't do that if you've been showing up late, missing, being on social media the entire time you're supposed to be working. Right. So there's this understanding that, one, you're so valuable just because you're alive, right? All of us coaches, when they say charge your value, I'm like, that's impossible. You're alive. You're a human being. You are invaluable, right?
Right.
But the work that you get paid for, right? You get to decide what the value of that is, and nobody else does. And that's where I really start to go to work with the women I work with on confidence and self-trust, and that you're never going to scam anybody just because you've been scammed. Or you see what I call entrepreneur porn on social media. I make $100 million in 20 minutes, like all that stuff, right?
Right.
If you can break through that and trust yourself, you can raise your prices, or you could charge more, or you can ask for the raise, or more money in your divorce settlement, whatever it is, because you trust yourself that you are not acting out of scarcity and there's not enough. And if I don't grab this right now, I'm fucked. Right. If you're not coming at it with that attitude, but rather from a point of abundance, and there's enough, and the money is always flowing. And because I'm alive and this is my value that I'm providing you, this is what I'd love to see in return. It's a completely different conversation.
Well,
and you feel confident having it. Yeah.
And I think that, there's the fear that when we make an offer, an invitation for whatever it is we're selling, like that it is, bad or salesy or scammy, or you're bothering someone. It's really fun. I have some friends that started a clothing brand. And so on their launch day, I went down to the farmer's market. I love sales, basically, because I love talking to people. But I was like, can I work in your booth? Like, I won't anyway. And I wasn't aware, right? Because I didn't make these clothes. It's not my brand. I literally was like so confident. And I was like, people were walking by the booth and I was like, I saw you looking. You want to touch it? You know what I mean? Like, I was having fun, right? And we do that. And think about, like, for everyone who's listening, who's afraid to start something because you don't want to have to sell it, like, think about all the things that you're an ambassador for. Like, your friends, you're like, oh my God, look at my arrows look bad, but oh my God, look at this. Or I got this new, like, everyone needs it, right? We naturally share things that we feel are valuable and we feel confident about.
Yeah.
So how can we translate that? Like, what's the missing piece when you're like, oh, now it's my thing. Oh shit. Like, I can't do it. God.
Wow, Marnie, I love that you asked this question because boy, is that transfer real, right? It's like, oh, but I'm selling it, so therefore I now have to go run away, right? Like it is such a fear. And one of the things I love to teach about sales, and I know we both love sales so much, and the reason I love it is I just consider it a transfer of enthusiasm.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
all it is, right? I mean, do you know those times like when you've bought something and you like skip out of this, you're like, I am the best. This was awesome.
Yeah.
Right? The person who created whatever you just bought felt the same way when they created it. And that transferred over to you when you bought it. And that's all it is. And so if we can recognize that we're making other people happy and excited, you would never rob somebody of that feeling because you've had that feeling. We've all had that feeling, right? I'm redoing my kitchen. I can't wait for the stone to get laid tomorrow. I'm going to die. I'm so excited, right? Like I'm going to be skipping around my house. And could you imagine if when I walked into that store and saw the tile, the guy was like, yeah, I mean, it's really expensive. You should. Yeah, exactly. I'd be like, oh, I was so excited, right? We don't rob each other of that. And if you can get into that mode that like you are sharing something that's going to make somebody so excited, why would you not do that? It's just like when you tell your, like you said too, Marnie, I love that. It's like when you tell your best friend about this book you just read that freaking blew your mind, right? And we know that works. Like, look at all the books we all know about that became movies, right? Eat, Pray, Love. That was girlfriends going, dude, you have to read this book. That's a transfer of enthusiasm. And I think when we can get that around sales, especially if you're owning your own thing and it's something you created, you know how excited you were at midnight on Tuesday when you were like, oh my God, this is working. And you're typing down, you're getting so excited. You're like, oh my, when someone buys it, they get that. And isn't that amazing? You never want to rob someone of that experience. And paying for something you love is one of the best feelings we all have. And we all know what it feels like. And it's very different from someone who's smarmy or trying to scam you because it's something you need, right? Those are very different energies. And it's unfortunate because we've all had that experience.
Yeah,
too.
totally.
Yeah. And I think what happens is people get scared. They're going to be like those people. And that's why I always think self-trust comes in, right? If you are creating something beautiful that is wonderful, that you love and adore, and that you are so excited to share, they're going to feel the same way in buying it. And so it's trusting that and really engaging in your work that way. Because again, there's the perceived value. Because when we pour our heart and soul and energy into something with love, it's immediately, innately, perfectly valuable. We can't help it. We love that with each other.
Oh, it's so great. And I also just want to scoot back just before we end, because when you're talking about time, because I think that that is a really brilliant thing. I call that thing time denial, you know?
Yes, that's a great word for it.
Right? It's like, oh, one day, right? It's like, okay, well, you know, like that's number one, not guaranteed. And number two, when you are avoiding what is present for you or what is a longing or desire you have to do or experience something or whatever it is, like it is finite. And so time denial also isn't a river in Egypt. So I love it. We need to get out of it. Okay. My last question for you. I just wanted to make sure all you people who are like, yeah, this is great. Sarah's amazing. One day I'm like, no. Reality check. Okay. Let's ask this question of amazing Sarah. So I saw this thing in your material around high functioning codependency.
Oh, dang.
And I'm thinking that anyone who listens to this, you know, they're overachievers, so they're going to be high functioning at everything they do. I'm the best codependent ever. So I'm a high functioning. So what is that exactly?
Yeah, it's so funny. If I'm ever speaking or on stage and I'm like, so high functioning codependence, everyone's like, that's me. I'm like, I haven't even defined it yet. Like, you don't even know what that means.
I want to be the best. Yeah.
It's me. I'm high functioning. I'm codependent. Yes, that's me. So, this is a really incredible concept. And I wish I could say I came up with it. I did not. A doctor named Terry, whose last name just flew right out of my head. I say her name 45 times a day. It'll come to me in a second. Yeah. But she wrote a great book called Boundary Boss. Again, don't love the title, but the work inside Boundary Boss is awesome. And she's a psychologist in New York City, and she coined the phrase high functioning codependence. And the high functioning piece is exactly what it sounds like, right? So here's the physiological thing behind our ability to multitask. If you were born into a female body, Okay, there is more connective tissue between your left and right hemisphere in your brain than if you were born in a male body. That is a physiological difference, right? I'm not making it up, like dissected brains. They're like, oh my God, this one has so much more. And that is what allows women to do the thing with the baby on there, right? They're like, yes, could you pull the chicken out for dinner? Did you guys answer that email? No, I'm not. While they're answering a text, right? And they're like moving the cat out of the way or whatever, right? We just do this. And I love men. 5 brothers growing up, the whole thing, right? This is not a dig on men. This is also very needed, but men do one thing at a time. Yeah. And that's it. Right. And you've seen this, right? You're taking the garbage out. You got a kid on your hip and you're like, could you take the garbage out? And they're like, well, but I'm watching TV. Right. And he's not trying to be a jerk. His brain is wired to do one thing. Right. And so this high functioning thing that we do, which by the way, is mostly to our detriment, is physiological. We have this ability. And so we just use it. And the world goes, well, that's freaking awesome. Could you keep doing that, please? Right. So that's high functioning. Now, the codependent piece starts quite early, much like the 3 myths that Lynn Twist discusses in her books. But it starts with things like, stop crying. Where's my pretty girl? Right. And the message you get is, your feelings are bothering me. Could you please stop having them and make me feel good? Right. And so those messages get hit hard. Right. And this is the backlash you're seeing of like, don't tell women to smile anymore. Stop it. It's this idea that we only exist for the comfort of others. And anything that we have or need is inconvenient, therefore wrong. And that sounds very harsh. But what happens is, and this is woman on woman crime, I like to call this, right? What happens is the codependent piece comes in when other women start saying things like, God, she's so selfless. Isn't she amazing? Yeah, you get praise. You get cookies for being like, for not having a self. Yes. Literally like selfless. She's amazing, right? God, you're just amazing. She's dying inside, right? She's amazing. Yeah. That hooks in the codependence piece, right? And so we get rewarded for not having needs. And so this high functioning codependence kicks in, and all of a sudden you want to kick the dog, throw your iPad out the window and like run away and never come home, right? Because your needs have not been met for so long. You don't even know what they are. And again, there's no big bad out there. There's not like, but it sure does work for society. And I actually have another podcast episode. Sorry, it's just timely. I love this. The $3.6 million care gap. And that is what a woman's work, the invisible, unpaid work that women do that makes the world work for everyone, is worth $3.6 million over her lifetime. And understanding, and I break it down in the podcast episode, how we calculated that and where it came from. That is a lot of freaking money. And so understanding, again, this is why I think it's so important you understand what an hour of your time is worth, right? Not only to your family, friends, supports, communities, religion, all the things that we share our time with. But for you, what does it mean to you? And knowing, in addition to that, it's worth $3.6 million if you never make a penny outside of your day-to-day work inside your home and for your family and your communities and your religion and all the places we share our time. Yeah. Understanding that, I think, immediately kind of lifts this imposter syndrome we have, the fear that anything we create isn't worth money. That is by design. Right? Because for so long, and in our collective psyche as women, for so long, we weren't supposed to touch money, right? We were handed from fathers to husbands or fathers to brothers if nobody wanted us. And we didn't touch money. We were like a burden. We were a liability. And that psyche doesn't get just changed overnight because, in 1976, we could finally get credit cards and mortgages. That's not going to go away in a single generation. So we want to understand and have compassion for those moments, those unspoken rules, right? Again, women are bad at money. You don't know what you're doing. All those things that we've either watched other people expressed, personally seen other people express, right? Or treat people a certain way. We want to work on those and understand that high functioning codependence will keep you trapped in that because it works for everyone else. And you get rewarded for putting all of your needs, wants, desires, ambitions on hold. And again, that's not to blame anybody or to say there's a big bad out there. It's not that at all. It's for us to just gain awareness. So we have a lot more compassion when we are sitting on the sidelines and going, what is wrong with me? Why am I not doing? That is not a time to beat yourself up. That's a time to go, yeah, what is ruling this? What is happening here? Where did I learn this? Who taught me that? when did they say it? Or did I just see it? And starting to figure that out for yourself. And I got to tell you, like I said earlier, I watch people figure stuff like this out and literally make $10,000 of sales the next day. It's like it lifts this invisible burden that's on all of us, but only if it's examined.
Yeah, I think I'm just thinking of so many different things as you're talking. But first of all, when people say like, I don't know what I would do, right? Well, if you go like whatever, $2.6 million, like your gifts are like just open, like, you know, when you were talking, Sarah, about you just not seeing what's right there. So that's number one. And number two, my dad used to say to my mom, and my mom had little jobs here and there when I was younger, like working for the dental office and things like that. But my dad used to say, and it's a backhanded compliment, but he would say, you're the world's greatest waste of talent, because he saw the value, right? But of all the shit that she did for the Hadassah, for the community, for the kids, for the meals, for the entertaining, for the party, right? He said it in this really nasty way, right? But it was like, wow, you're so talented. You could be making so much money, right? And you're just not. And that was, you know, getting married in like 1962 and all of those things, right? But all of us have all this talent, and I don't think we're necessarily wasting it, but I think that we need to own the value that we have, and that we are not limited, and that we can choose whether it's at a regular 9-to-5 job or our own thing or whatever, or not saying anymore, like, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. Fuck that. Right? Like, that's just
$3.6 million job.
Yeah.
$3.6 million job.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So don't just stop saying that shit. I love that. This has been such an amazing conversation. I mean, we love Sarah Walton. Ladies, you can go find out more about Sarah. The links are in the show notes, but it's sarahwalton.com, right?
Yeah, it's just super easy, like the family on TV.
Super easy, like the with an H. So we'll have links. And also, by the way, guys, make sure you check out at sarahwalton.com/freedom. We'll have a link in the show notes. But she has a freedom calculator, so you can learn the exact number you need to feel free and what to do to make more money. There's a revenue tracking tool. If for those of you that are business owners, make sure you absolutely check that out. It's a really amazing resource that she has. And listen to the podcast. We'll put links to the podcast that you referenced. Also, it's been such a great joy to like get to know you and be in your energy.
Oh, Marnie, thank you so much. I've loved this conversation. You asked the best questions, and I hope it's just been super helpful for anyone feeling like any doubts. They're not there by you. Someone put them there.
When I'm interviewing people every once in a while, I'm like, I need to send this to so-and-so, right? I'm just like, this is going to be a winner chicken dinner. To that point, ladies, the name of the show is called Life Check Yourself. And while I love to entertain you while you're driving, there's also a possibility for you to actually listen to some of the things that Sarah said and ask yourself, am I more committed to my bullshit, or am I more committed to my vision? And use some of the free available resources and tools that she gave all of you to start seeing what is possible and looking for all the abundance that is there for you to partake in. That is the glorious gift of being alive right now. So make sure that you life check yourself. In the meantime, you can follow me, Marnie Batista _ on the old IG Instagram. I will not be singing, dancing, nor thirst trapping, but I will be providing you with some great content. So we'll see you all over there. And in the meantime, don't forget, life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now. Hey, thanks for tuning in today. Listen, if you're feeling stuck, I want you to know you're not alone, and you don't have to settle for it. I've created a free quiz to help you pinpoint what's draining your energy and exactly how you can fix it. So head over to decodeyourdestinyquiz.com and take the 60-second quiz right now. That's decodeyourdestinyquiz.com. And if you're ready to dive deeper, you can book a free no-obligation consultation at marniebatista.com /private coaching. That's Marnie, Marni, Batista, Battis, as in Sam, TA.com/private coaching, all one word. Let's take the first step to creating a life you love on your terms. I'm Marnie, and I'll see you next time.